Listen, if you've been working hard, doing everything that you can to pay off your debt, throwing extra money at it, working overtime, trying to get ahead, but yet it still feels like you're not really making any progress, you are not crazy. And you're definitely not alone, because I bet you most people watching this video are just like you. And I know this because I talk to people all the time. Good people, responsible people. People doing what they were told to do. And they all say some version of the same thing, and it sounds like this. I'm paying things down, but I still don't feel like I'm getting ahead. I don't feel like I'm making a dent. That's frustrating, right? I'm gonna say something that might sound a little bit, well, I don't know, backwards, I think would be the word. You might not want to rush to pay off your debt. That's what I mean, backwards, right? You might not want to rush to pay off all your debt. Now, it's not because debt is good. It's more because what happens to your money when you do. Think about that for a second. Just let that settle in. I'll give you a moment. Every single time you make a payment, where does that money go? Well, the thing that's clear is it doesn't go to you. It leaves you. It goes to someone else's bank, the lender, the credit card company. And listen, once it's gone, it's gone. It's never coming back to your family. It's never benefiting you again. It will never, ever, ever work for you again. And then what happens later? Well, you need money again. So you go back and you borrow money again for this, that, or another thing. And the cycle repeats itself over and over and over again. The problem isn't your debt, folks. The problem is that your money never comes back to you. Your money never works for you when it leaves your family and goes to someone else's bank. This is where people start to feel stuck, especially as they get closer to retirement, because now it's not just about paying things off. Now it's about, do I actually have control of this? Am I gonna have enough money after we pay the bills? If something happens, some emergency, can you access your money? Or is it in some account where it's sort of tied up with penalties, fees, or tax implications? And if this is hitting home for you, then here's what I'd like you to ask you to do. Hit that subscribe button right there. I got a lot of other stuff, and I talk to people all the time who have never been shown this. Let me show you something else too. There's a little bell right on the screen. What I need you to do is smash that, wah! Just like that, smash that bell. Been studying under the late Bruce Lee's studies. Anyway, back into this. Now let me ask you something. What if there was a way? Yeah. What if there was a way for you to pay off your debt without your money actually leaving you? I know that sounds crazy. Your money never leaves you. What if it stayed in a system that you control? Now I know what people do. They'll move balances around, use credit cards, pull from a 401k, dip into their savings, maybe even borrow from their family, and yeah, those can work. But they all come with a trade-off. And that trade-off is things like, well, stress. Imagine borrowing from your family and things get rough. Stress, risk, locked up money, strained relationships. There's another way I want you to think about this. Instead of just trying to eliminate debt, which always brings you to a zero-sum game, what if you focused on controlling how the money flows? And I know some of you are like,
you keep saying this control thing.
In simple terms, instead of borrowing from the bank, you're borrowing from a system that you own, a system that you control, and a system that is predictable in terms of what happens next. Where your money keeps working for you even when you're using it. Yes, I did say that. Your money works for you, earns for you, even when you're using it to pay the debt off. So let me reflect a little bit on kind of what this was for me, because I had a lot of debt. When I was a financial advisor, I was running my skateboard, snowboard shops. I had a lot of debt. And I don't even know how I accumulated it. I had a car loan. I had lots of credit card debts from us using the debts for business. And you know, the intent was always the same. You know, I would use the credit card with the intent that I'm gonna pay it off this month. It's gonna be paid off, so I don't have to worry about it. And then, well, you run out of time. The end of the month comes a little too soon and you just didn't have enough, and oh, it's just gonna carry over, it's gonna be fine, I'm gonna get it next month. And next month, the same thing happens, and it kind of rolls over. And then, you know, this thing came up that you had to have, but there was financing, so you finance that, and you're like, oh, it's no big deal. And you start in your mind, relate with me a little bit, you start in your mind kind of taking the monthly payment and saying, oh, well, I'm doing this side hustle or I'm making this extra money. This is how at least I did it. Like I would have this thing that was paying me $200 a month. Like I would, I was an advisor, so I would sell something and it would pay me $200 a month. So in my mind, that $200 a month that I was gonna spend on this thing I bought, that debt that I was gonna take on, it was okay because this $200 coming in was gonna pay that. But then what would happen is that $200 that I was making, that would end. Something would happen that would go away. The person wouldn't continue with the program and that $200 was gone. But this is how I did it. But the debt was still there. And then it stacks and it just gets more and more and more. And then you start taking on additional debts, different debts, controlled debts we'll call them, for opportunities. You have an opportunity to grow your business. Remember I had my retail stores. So I would borrow money for this thing, or I would borrow money from the vendors to buy more inventory because we were gonna have just the best Christmas season ever. And then all of a sudden, you don't have the best Christmas season. The snow didn't come. It was a dry November and December, so we barely got any snow. So all those snowboards that you borrowed money for are just sitting there. And then the reality hits. You look, and all this money that was coming in, well, it's all still there. Your income's still there, maybe not as much. And you look over here, and all the debt payments have just grown. I've been there. And that's where stress comes in, and I was extremely stressed. And then what do? Well, what I did is I went out and I started working extra jobs. I remember I would take on landscaping jobs on the weekend. I remember I would do roofs with my friend's roofing company. Now, bear in mind, like, I'm a financial advisor. I was making great money as a financial advisor, so I wasn't not making high income. I was in the 6 figures, but I was spending just as much. Like, I know docs today that make tons of money, but they're in debt, they're buried because they spend almost 100% of what they make. And I gotta believe it's exactly what happened. They're in that situation because of exactly how I got in that situation. It's just how the system's built, right? The system is built for us to be a slave to it, and I was. And it didn't matter how hard I worked. It didn't matter how many bonuses I got at the firm. It didn't matter how many lawns or roofs I helped put on and that extra money. It just never seemed to make a difference. I never had a system that I was following. I just did what everybody did. Make more, pay down the debt. Make more, pay down the debt. But the debt never seemed to go away. And listen, I'm not gonna get too deep into the solution, but I met a guy, a very wealthy guy out in Utah. And he told me about a system. And literally, that system was the same system I'm telling you about. He literally became his own bank. But when I asked him, I said, what is this? And he just said, well, it's my private banking system. And I didn't know what that meant. But he effectively created a system of being his own bank. I got into that. I ended up becoming my own bank. And the very first thing I did was I began the process of taking back the banking functions in my life. Little by little, I didn't have a lot of extra money, like I just said. I took what little savings I had and I changed where it went, and then I used the system and I paid the debts off. But as I paid the debts off, guess who I paid the debts back to? Myself. My private banking system. So I kept control of it all. And now the compounding effect and also the control effect of the flow of the money then helped pay the debt off. And listen, I'm not making this up, folks. I could show it to you. I could explain it to you. I could show you my exact map, because that's what we called it, a map, of how I paid my debt off. At first it was slow, and then it was a little faster, and then it just seemed like I was out of debt. And I have not been back in debt since. But anyway, enough about my story. Let's dive back into how you can do the same thing I did. You need to be focused not on just getting out of debt, but you have to be focused on not starting over every time. Let me ask you something, and this is important. If you paid off all of your debt tomorrow, how much of the money, the debt that you paid off, did you actually get back? None, right? None of it. You had to go earn it all over again, didn't you? That's the game most people are playing. And they're playing it without even realizing it. This is something most people were never shown. This is something most people will never be shown. So consider yourself lucky you're learning about this. If you want to sit down and you want to take a look at what you've been doing and what this situation or what this process could look like for you, then here's what you do. You gotta book a call with my team. We're gonna walk you through your specific situation. We're gonna ask the right questions, and we're gonna see if this makes sense to you. No pressure, no sales, no obligation, just clarity. Now, I wanna be very clear. Some of you are like, why can't you just tell me how to do this now? Well, I've attempted to tell you how to do this with 1,300 videos, but unfortunately, sometimes we have to understand your situation, not just everybody's situation, because everybody's situation is different. So this call, we're gonna look at your situation and your solution. And we're gonna show it to you because we have software that will do that called the Vault. We're literally gonna show you the future. Because here's what I've seen over and over and over again. The longer people stay in that cycle, the more they normalize it. Does that make sense? It just becomes the way things are done. And as years go by, they're still working, they're still making payments on their debts. Then at some point, time becomes the thing you can't get back. Make no two ways about it. Time is the most valuable thing that we all have. And that's what it really comes down to. Not just the money, but the time, the options, the flexibility. How do you get more time to spend with those that matter the most? You don't need more complexity in your life. At least I don't think you do. You just need a better way to use what you already have. So if you want to take that next step and you want to actually see how this works behind the scenes, I've put together another video. For those of you that don't want to book a call, another video that simply walks you through this step by step. So go watch that video right there. It's going to connect the dots on just about everything I talked about. And after that video, then you can book a call with us and we can walk through your specific situation. I'll see you in the next one.